What is going on, guys? Farzin Vasugian here with you for another edition of the Red Friday live chat. How are you guys? It is Red Friday. I'm excited. I'm ready. We are just a little over 24 hours away from kickoff. Yes, just a little over 24 hours from kickoff. We are getting closer and closer, and boy, it's almost time. I'm kind of glad the Chiefs are playing on the first day, just to get it out there, let it happen, and I don't know, you maybe get a Sunday game and you get that extra day of rest. Can never hurt. Can never hurt at the end of the day. How are you guys? Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all having a great Friday. Hope you're all staying warm wherever you are. If you are in the Kansas City area, you are probably freezing. You are probably freezing like everyone else in this town. Let's see. How many degrees is it right now? It is 10 degrees. Wind chill warning until 12 p.m. Tuesday, January the 16th. Cool. Very cool. Yeah. Listen, I know there are people out there like shaming Chiefs fans. Oh, they're not showing up for games. They're not buying tickets. I want to see you freeze your ass off for a football game for 3+ hours. Let's see you do that. I love when people always shame other fans for not buying tickets or whatever. Listen, I'm not blaming anyone for not going. Home field is not going to be, there, I guess, that home field advantage. I know the Chiefs have not been great at home, but still, you would rather take your chances at home in the playoffs than not. I mean, come on. I think that's obvious. Players obviously get to stay home in their own beds, all that stuff, and that definitely can be a factor, more than some people realize. But that doesn't always dictate who wins and who loses at the end of the day. Look, I don't think it's any shocker here. I'm not breaking any news to you guys. I think the running game is going to be very important for both teams tomorrow night. If Mostert and HN are both going to play, that is going to be huge for their rushing attack. I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Isaiah Pacheco, those two guys are going to be very important for tomorrow night. Pacheco's had the hot hand lately, and I think they got to keep feeding him the ball because he's played so well lately. And why move the ball away from him? I do expect the Chiefs to throw the ball, and same with the Dolphins because of Tyreek Hill. And look, are they going to throw as much? No way. There is no way that's happening. But you've got to do something with Tyreek Hill if you're the Dolphins. I mean, that guy did play running back at one point. He was drafted as a running back. Yes, the Chiefs did convert him to wide receiver, but they also used him a lot as a running back during his time in Kansas City, his rookie year specifically. And you've got to imagine, I mean, listen, if you're the Miami Dolphins, you have to understand that, yeah, you're a warm weather team, but if you go to a place like Buffalo for the playoffs, like Kansas City for the playoffs, any of these cities that are freezing, especially right now with both those cities trying to host games, you got to understand the passing game just won't be there. So surely Mike McDaniel has to have something in the playbook where Tyreek Hill is utilized more in the running game. Because I know the Dolphins are far from full strength. I know Tyreek Hill is dealing with a foot injury that he's playing through. But if your running backs are hurt and the passing game just isn't there, why would you not utilize Tyreek Hill as a running back in this game? You have to do that. It worked well for Kansas City his rookie season. His rookie season was a little weird because he was doing some stuff at running back, some things at wide receiver, as a return specialist. I mean, that guy was like a Swiss Army knife his rookie year. Probably should have won Rookie of the Year. And if I recall that year, it was between Dak and Zeke. So not on the same team. So hopefully the Chiefs defense will be ready for whatever Miami throws at them, because I think you have to be ready for all of the above if you're the Chiefs defense. And there's only so much time to really prepare for that kind of thing, but everyone knows what the weather is going to be like. So surely Spags had to have thought that, look, the Dolphins might do this. They might utilize Tyreek Hill in that kind of way. For those of you who are just joining in the live chat, appreciate you guys coming in here. Welcome. If you guys haven't done so already, ask your questions. Let me know what you think, how you feel, any questions, comments, whatever you want to talk about. Let me know in the comments. I'll be honest with you guys. I have the biggest headache ever. I just do. It's not that today was like a bad day. It's just been a very busy day. A lot of moving around, just a lot of things going on today. Again, nothing bad, just busy and tired. Been up since 4 a.m. Yeah, I'm definitely sleeping in tomorrow. That is a fact per sources. So if you guys have questions, comments, let me know below. I will get to those later as we are exactly 24 hours away from kickoff. 24 hours away. It's going to be a long 24 hours. All right. Before I get to your questions and comments, I am going to touch on the All-Pro team. So 3 Chiefs players made the All-Pro team. On offense, the only player was left guard Joe Thuney. Thought that was very deserving. On the defensive side, you had Chris Jones, who got in, and Trent McDuffie, who got in specifically as a slot cornerback, which makes sense because that is the role he plays a lot with Kansas City. One big obvious omission would be L'Jarius Sneed. He did not make no one made the second team All-Pro. And L'Jarius Sneed actually got the most votes from cornerbacks that didn't make either of the All-Pro teams. So he barely missed the All-Pro team. Let me just say this about L'Jarius Sneed, because I don't know if I would call him the best cornerback in the NFL right now. I think DaRon Bland is. I know he's given up some big plays, but he's also made some big plays as a defensive player. But I feel like a lot of times with these kinds of things, these are 50 AP voters. So they're not, I mean, they've got a lot of things to pay attention to. They don't have the time to go through film study for every single game. They would not have a life if they did that all the time. So the point I'm getting at here, I think the reason L'Jarius Sneed is a Pro Bowl alternate and fell, a couple votes short of an All-Pro team, he doesn't have those eye-glowing stats. Yeah, the big stat, him not allowing a touchdown, but that's like, you got to have Pro Football Focus to really know that, or some of the media has to publish that and make a big deal out of that. I remember Derek Johnson, when he made his first Pro Bowl, he didn't necessarily have the stats for it, but whenever the Chiefs played a national game, I remember John Gruden, who was doing Monday Night Football at the time, made a pretty big deal about how good Derek Johnson was, and that turned into an effect, and you heard a lot of the media kind of feed off and piggyback off what John Gruden was saying. So, essentially, things like that, I think, kind of matter at the end of the day. Not to say L'Jarius Sneed was not worthy. Again, I think he was. No touchdowns. Going up against top-tier wide receivers all year long, you have to get one of the All-Pro spots for sure. But, hey, that didn't happen at the end of the day. I think on the offensive side, if we go back to it, I don't think Mahomes and Kelsey were worthy of any All-Pro spots this year, but that interior offensive line, Creed Humphrey, I don't know why Creed Humphrey continues to get the disrespect. So the 3 interior offensive linemen, Humphrey, Smith, and Thuney, none of them were mentioned in the NFL top 100 list last year, which surprised the hell out of me, because those 3 interior offensive linemen, I mean, that is the best interior offensive line group in the NFL, and you had a few in the top 100. So none of those guys were on the list and in the top 100 list. But for All-Pro, Thuney was the only one that got in. Humphrey and Smith on neither of the teams, first team or second team. So that was probably the biggest surprise to me. Again, people have been asking who votes on this. It's 50 AP voters. These are the same voters who vote for MVP, who vote for Coach of the Year, Comeback Player of the Year, all those awards. So whenever the All-Pro team comes out, that is a very good indication as to who's going to get MVP. And it looks like Lamar Jackson's going to get it because he was first team All-Pro and Dak Prescott was second. I know there are some people still making a case for Dak Prescott, but if Lamar Jackson made first team All-Pro, it's probably a good sign that he's going to get it. I remember last year Mahomes, he was first team All-Pro and he got 49 of the 50 votes. That was public knowledge when the teams came out. And that was really a dead giveaway that Mahomes was going to win MVP almost unanimously, which is exactly what happened. So, and again, keep one thing in mind. There are lots of different awards out there. Pro Football Writers of America, they're going to have their own All-Pro team, and they're also going to have their own awards. Sporting News, Sports Illustrated, all these media outlets are all going to have their own awards. If you go to if you go to someone's Wikipedia, they might have won like the Maxwell Coach of the Year award, which that does not count as the AP award. So if you guys are betting in Vegas, or if you bet on on any of the sports betting websites, and you place a bet for MVP or Coach of the Year, the only one that counts is the AP award, which is going to be presented at the NFL Honors later this year. So keep that in mind. Wow, we have a lot of comments here. So let's get right to it. By the way, use the promo code Farzine for $20 off your first purchase if you're a new customer at SeatGeek. Somebody actually posted a screenshot of them using the promo code, and it does tell me how many people use the promo code per day. And when I promoted it today and mentioned how low the ticket price would be, some people use the promo code. And obviously, these are people who are new customers of SeatGeek, which is pretty cool. Always good to see. Even though we've been doing this promo for 5-6 months now, we still have people who are using it for the first time. And somebody posted a screenshot. I mean, they paid for 2 tickets, ended up paying like $40 to $50, depending on obviously where you sit. And obviously these are the cheap seats, but still, man, you can get a lot of cheap prices for good seats in this game. I'm telling you right now, unless Mahomes gets injured, ticket prices will never be this low in the Patrick Mahomes era. They just won't. They never will. On the flip side, it is going to be cold as hell. So you guys get to decide what you want to do. Go or don't go. I want to see LaMichael Pirine get in the mix too. He's big and hits hard. Him, Pacheco would destroy their defense. Yeah, I think you would like to think that they're going to do that. I think the Chiefs trust CEH more than a lot of people might realize. And listen, he has gained a lot of favor from fans recently. I know the court of public opinion doesn't really matter to the coaching staff ultimately, but he has been used a lot more lately, whether Pacheco is playing or not. So I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to get some snaps in this game. LaMichael Pirine might get a few snaps, Enrique. Maybe not as much as you might think or want, but he'll definitely be there as well. Were they in coats when they got off the plane? No, they were not. Fox 4 actually showed the plane landing and showed them getting off. A lot of hoodies, and a lot of them putting up the hoodie or had a beanie. Some of the players were dressing like just a sleeveless t-shirt. Man, I hope they packed a big coat in those bags they're carrying, because it is pretty damn cold. I actually just stepped out a few minutes ago, and it's been cold all day. Why is the game not on TV tomorrow night? Because it is on Peacock. The NFL announced at the beginning of not the beginning of the year, but in the offseason, that there would be a postseason game on Peacock. So this was all out there before people even realized, but not everyone paid attention to it. So ultimately, this whole thing with Peacock and people not really knowing about it until the schedule came out, the playoff schedule, that's when a lot of people noticed it. Listen, the NFL is making a lot of money out of these things. I know there are a lot of people, specifically Chiefs fans and Dolphins fans, who are threatening to boycott and they'll never support the NFL ever again. You will those people will be the ones watching, and they'll be tweeting the most about the game tomorrow. I mean, come on. You're not going to miss your team in the playoffs. Come on. No one's going to do that. So just chill, relax. It's only $5. So get the subscription, cancel it. Just make sure it doesn't get renewed. Watch the Royal Rumble if you want. Watch Traders. Go back and watch old WWE shows, whatever you want to do with it. But just make sure it doesn't charge you automatically, because that will happen. That is what Peacock hopes will happen. I mean, that is what they hope for. They want people to sign up, forget to cancel the subscription so they can get renewed for a second month. And who knows? At that point, you probably can't do much about it. Snead got robbed, yeah. And he's played great all year, too. So that's just, you know, at the end of the day, it is what it is. Can't really do too much about it. Fred says the Dolphins have a better running game and running defense. Why people say that this is the biggest home field advantage? The Chiefs throw the ball more than anyone in the league. To me, it's a disadvantage. Do the Chiefs throw the football more than anyone else? Let's check that real quickly, because I'll be honest, I've not looked at that. Yeah, the Dolphins do have a good running game. Their defense, when they play good teams, I don't know. So Patrick Mahomes is third in pass attempts this year, and that is with one less game. Okay, so yeah, you're right about that. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I mean, the Dolphins are banged up. Yeah, sure. Trent, I mean, if everyone's full strength, no one's injured, which doesn't exist in January. And if you watch football, you already know that. You don't need me to tell you that. Miami's banged up everywhere. And again, you want to talk about their run defense. Even their best players that have a chance to play are injured and not doing very well. This is why the Chiefs have a big advantage, because they rested their starters outside of Chris Jones and some of their offensive linemen last week. That is a huge advantage, because the only player who didn't practice all week was Wanya Morris, who's already been ruled out. Justin Ross missed the first day of practice, but didn't practice the rest of the week. So, ultimately, at the end of the day, that is going to play a big factor more than the others. Miami just coming into this game injury riddled does not help. Does not help at all. And again, here's the other thing too. If the Dolphins are smart, they'll do what Cincinnati did in the first half a couple of weeks ago. But I don't know if they're that type of football team that wants to do that kind of thing, where they do quick passes and run the ball up. The running part, I expect them to do. But you also got to look at their schedule too. Tell me who Miami has beaten this year. Okay, they beat the Cowboys, but in a lot of their other games against winning teams, they have not done very well. So that is also a big factor. I think a lot of the stats you see from Miami, they're great, don't get me wrong, but a lot of it is extremely misleading. A lot of it is very misleading because of, I mean, they beat up on bad teams. And don't get me wrong, you got to do what you got to do. You can only play who's on your schedule, but we're going to see that come into play. Look at last week's game against Buffalo. This Miami team just has not been playing very good football lately. And you saw that in the Buffalo game, a game they should have won, but they didn't. And they let the Bills just kind of cruise in that fourth quarter there. This game will come down to who runs the ball the best. Throwing the football in those conditions will be interesting. That football is going to be rock hard. I can see more drops from both teams. Yeah. You definitely don't want to hear that if you're Kansas City, but it's definitely going to play a factor. So I don't, here's the thing. And Tim Grunhard brought this up on A10 this week, talking about, a lot of times you see offensive linemen, they don't wear any sleeves. I mean, they just come out and they just get used to it, once you get into the game. So even pregame, that as well. Creed is awesome. Yeah. I'm just surprised he wasn't part of the All-Pro. It's always been him and Jason Kelce. And he's just done a really good job. How many bad games has Creed Humphrey had in his 3 years in the NFL? I can't really think of one. I can't think of one at all. Not at all. Oklahoma State Cowboys. Okay. Not sure. Are they playing tonight? I don't know. But okay. Enjoy that, Mark. Am I going to the game tomorrow? Hell no. No way. I am staying home watching it from the man cave, because that is what we do. I am not going to listen, if you're going to the game, props to you. Enjoy it. Have fun. Somebody else was asking if I'm going to the game. I'm not. Somebody posted on X today. I know I keep saying Twitter. X, formerly known as Twitter. That's what a lot of people are calling it. Someone said their best memories at Arrowhead is cold weather games, which, okay, cool. Not me. I did it once for a November game in college. Me and a couple of classmates, we went to a Chiefs game. Got there very early for tailgating. Never again. The first and only time I experienced it, going to a game in the cold. That is plenty good. I think I attended a November game before in 2012. Remember that glorious year? but the weather was not as bad at the time. So, yeah, I had a coat on and everything, but you could actually sit through the game. Uh, the weather was not an issue. The product on the field was the issue at the time. Let's see. Forecast on ESPN page gonna be Buffalo's looking at a foot or snow or so of snow. High winds on Sunday, gonna be wild and wacky. Yeah. So I guess Cleveland has been designated as the stadium that needs to be quote unquote ready. I guess they still have a day to decide, or maybe 12 hours. I don't know exactly like when the deadline is, but I saw they're asking for a lot of volunteers to help shovel the snow and whatnot. I think the only time I recall the Chiefs ever asking for volunteers for anything would be in 2006. If you remember, that was the first ever Thanksgiving night game on NFL Network at the time. And because it was a Thanksgiving night game, the field crew, the networking crew, they had a lot of people that just were not willing to work because that was a holiday. And I remember on the Chiefs website that week, they were asking for a lot of volunteers to help for essentially like wrapping cable, holding cable, that kind of thing. Jobs that really are not the most exciting to do. I don't know what ended up happening with all of that, how much help they got from that. I have a feeling a lot of people don't want to help with cable. They would rather watch the game, but I imagine there might be some people in college who want to be like in the field of sports broadcasting, probably contributed to that. But yeah, it's the only time I can really recall the Chiefs ever asking for volunteers for anything. Yeah, if you're in Kansas City, you can watch on Channel 41. I don't know if so Channel 41 is the home of the Chiefs, which is how you watch all the preseason games if you live in Kansas City. It just happens to be also on NBC. So if you're in Miami, I don't know what channel it is for them, if it's also on the NBC affiliate or if it's on the home of whatever the Dolphins channel is, which could be a CBS station, a Fox station, NBC station, or one of those local channels that you can only get if you live in Miami. So I don't know how that works. If you live in Miami, Google's your friend. Misdirectional plays. Yeah, I've been talking about this. I feel like the Kansas City Chiefs playbook got a little creative lately. And obviously you don't want to put things on film for teams to prepare for. But yeah, I've been mentioning some of those things as well, Jay. And I think they've been doing some of that with Isaiah Pacheco and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, involving the running backs in ways that you would like for them to get them involved. So hopefully you see some of that. Listen, Andy Reid might be one of the best when it comes to play designs. So if he can, and I know a lot of people, recently Andy Reid's getting compared to Bill Belichick, because this whole thing with Belichick and how he's never good unless he has Tom Brady, which is a fact. The numbers are just there. Look at the win-loss record. But when you look at Andy Reid, he's always been able to win with any quarterback, McNabb, Vic, Smith, Mahomes, whoever. The knock on Andy Reid is, even though he's won so many games and has been to so many conference title games, the knock on him is whenever it gets to the big games, that's where he seems to struggle the most, which is a fair criticism, although recently that has kind of been covered up with 2 Super Bowls in recent memory. And so, I know there are all these rumors about Andy Reid retiring and what's he going to do. And listen, I don't know. Every year, I feel like for 5-6 years, there's been reports about Andy Reid potentially retiring. So I don't know, man. It's just at the end of the day, it's one of those like I'll believe it when I see it type of things. That's it. So we'll see. I know there was a big story about that the day of the Super Bowl last year. And then when the Chiefs won and celebrated and Andy Reid was asked about it, he shut that down real quickly, which I get it. He's up there in age. And by the way, I mentioned this before, but I'll say it again. I love when people in the media talk about Andy Reid's health, but they don't specifically say what they're talking about with his health. They just mention Andy Reid's health. Well, they're obviously referring to his weight, but they don't want to say it. I always find it funny when people in the media bring up something, but they dance around certain comments because they're worried about, I don't know, criticism or cancel culture. I don't know. Like if you have an opinion, you want to say it, just fucking say it. Don't silence yourself by saying something but only giving like half the context. Like, come on, just say it, because we all know what you're referring to. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it. Okay, I don't know who those people are, but hey, cool. I'm assuming those are Oklahoma State Cowboys. Who is Austin Eckroat? I have no fucking idea. Chiefs will be hosting the Browns in the AFC Championship game. Patrick, you are drinking the Kool-Aid, brother. I will go to that game. I don't think the Chiefs are going to be hosting any more playoff games this year. I do think Cleveland will give Baltimore a run for their money. I do. And I'll be honest, doing my playoff bracket, which I'll post shortly, I've kind of gone back and forth on that game because I do think Cleveland's going to win this weekend. I think they can really challenge Baltimore. That is going to be a fun game to watch because that is Joe Flacco going to Baltimore, which is going to be a big story going into that game. So that's a matchup a lot of people want to see. There are a lot of homecomings this postseason. Tyreek to Arrowhead, Flacco to Baltimore, McCarthy, not a player, a coach, back to Green Bay, and then Stafford back to Detroit. So those are always generate a lot of headlines. So I'm very curious to see how those pan out the day of the games. Will this be the all-time record for the coldest game? So according to a lot of the media out there, this will be the coldest game ever that both teams have been a part of. And I remember December of 2008, the Chiefs and Dolphins played at Arrowhead in one of the coldest games ever. At the time, I think it was the second coldest game in Chiefs history. And the Dolphins actually won that game. Now, that was the year the Dolphins, I think they were a one-win team the year before, and they ended up winning like 10 or 11 games the year after. And I think they also won the AFC East. That was the year Brady got hurt and Favre went to the Jets, got off to a great start, but then just completely choked the second half of the season. $20 an hour to shovel the snow in Buffalo. Okay. Well, if you're looking for some money, that can't hurt, I assume. So this will be exciting game. Love the snow, but it could be a lot of turnovers on the ball. Carry on the ground. Yeah, I'm expecting them to go on the ground a lot. Are you going to game tomorrow? No. A lot of people have been asking this today. I wonder why. What about Lawrence, Kansas? What about it? I love Lawrence, Kansas. I have not been to Lawrence it's been more than a year. I do need to make a trip out there for sure. For sure. Who is the better OC, Nagy or Bieniemy? I mean, how can you not say Bieniemy at this point? Nagy, I thought Nagy did good in his last year with the Chiefs, back when Mahomes was a rookie but was playing behind Smith. And I thought that's what got him the coaching job in Chicago. Now, I know Chicago didn't go well despite winning a Coach of the Year award early during his time there. But, you guys all know how the sport works. It's all about what have you done for me lately. Vrabel won a Coach of the Year award, and he got fired. So it happens. It definitely happens. By the way, again, I consider the source, but I know Pro Football Talk, Florio, he put out there this whole rumor about Andy Reid retiring, but he did put out something that I actually liked. He said that if Andy Reid retires, he sees Mike Vrabel going to Kansas City. And I know a lot of Chiefs fans don't like that because he's a defensive-minded coach and people feel like Mahomes needs an offensive-minded head coach. Listen, if you just get the right offensive coordinator, I don't think that will matter too much. And listen, with Ryan Tannehill, I think the Tennessee Titans did a damn good job. Remember a few years ago, and I know they didn't win that game. I think they lost to Cincinnati that year, but the Tennessee Titans got the number 1 seed when Derrick Henry was injured for most of the year. And that was, again, with Ryan Tannehill as your quarterback. So if he can do that in Tennessee with Ryan freaking Tannehill of all people, I think he can do just fine in Kansas City. Would there be some changes? Of course. No two head coaches are the same. No two offensive coordinators are exactly the same. You'll see some differences. But, man, I would love Mike Vrabel in Kansas City. When the Matt Castle trade happened, for all you longtime listeners of the podcast, you guys remember at the time, I was far more excited about Vrabel being part of that package deal than I was about Castle. And the Chiefs only gave up a second round pick, which, by the way, a lot of people actually wanted the NFL to look into that because there were other teams offering a first round pick just for Castle. And the Chiefs obviously got more than what a lot of teams were willing to get in return. Obviously, that was a gift from Belichick to Pioli at the time, but neither here nor there. I would love Vrabel in Kansas City. I think I mentioned this on Wednesday on the podcast. The fact that Tennessee fired him, I think that's a mistake. I really, really do. I think Tennessee will look back at this one day and they will realize what they did was a mistake. You see this a lot with quarterbacks now. They get drafted and then their head coaches get fired. You saw Justin Herbert's going to play with his third different head coach. Okay, that guy has not been in the league very long. I can't recall the name of the guy. Willis, who was at Union Station for the draft and then went home for the second round because he didn't get drafted, and his sisters and his girlfriend, they all got attention. I can't remember his name off the top of my head right now. But it's like, I think he's a good quarterback and you got to give him time to kind of get acclimated with the coaching staff. And Tennessee said, no, we are not doing that. But anyway, we're getting way off topic there, but to answer your question, Teresa, definitely Bieniemy. Pacheco, Rice. I like that. I definitely like that. That strategy for sure. Going to be a low scoring game. Yeah, I think the Chiefs are going to get some points on the scoreboard. Miami just doesn't. And listen, these two teams have already played each other on a neutral playing field. So Kansas City knows what to do. And listen, Miami also knows what to expect, but again, Miami has not been good at all. They can beat up on all the bad teams. To go back to an earlier comment talking about their run defense and their running game, and yeah, that's all great. Tyreek Hill, great numbers this year. Tua's been great this year, leads the NFL in passing yards, but a lot of that is against a bunch of shitty teams. I mean, you give the San Francisco 49ers the same schedule, I think they could probably beat up on those teams. Would they score 70 against the Broncos? Probably not, but I think Miami, and I even mentioned this going into that Germany game. I said, look, Miami's not beating any good teams this year. And a lot of you guys said that I was just being a hater. Well, that's actually now a big topic, a big storyline by a lot of the media outside of Kansas City. So other people are picking up on it. What channel is it in, Lawrence? I don't know. Someone's replying and saying 41. So I know Lawrence. It's kind of like in the middle between, I think it's closer to Kansas City than it is Topeka. Don't quote me on that. I have not lived in Lawrence in a long time. So if I have that wrong, I apologize. But I do recall when I did live in Lawrence, I did get KCTV5 in my dorm room. I had Channel 41 and I had KMBC. I can't recall if I had Fox 4 or not. I don't think I ever cared to look them up at the time when I was there. But yeah, Channel 41, I do think they get. Yeah. So Christy, yeah, I already answered that. So yeah, I was shocked he was fired too. I just feel like, let me just look something up with the Titans. Because, again, I get this is like, what have you done for me lately? Okay, so they were 7-10 last year and 6-11 this year. I get it. When you have back-to-back losing seasons, yeah. And by the way, let me just put this out there too, because we are in a very different world today where PR matters, and I think owners tend to listen to the fan base a little more, and it's easy to hear from the fans because of social media. If you guys recall, when fans were trying to get a petition to get rid of Larry Johnson so he doesn't become the leading rusher when he was doing all the crazy stuff at the time, which he's owned up to over the years, but Scott Pioli, the GM at the time, admitted, he said, yeah, that petition was part of the reason why we cut Larry Johnson. And they did not want him to be the on top of a franchise statistic right there. So, fans get fed up, back-to-back losing seasons. Fans talk about that kind of thing, and you always hear that stuff. There's no way you don't hear it. They better catch those punt returns. Well, if the ball is going towards like the 5-yard line, they better get the hell out of the way, Zach, because for whatever reason, they're fielding whatever punts come at them. It's like, why? I mean, are they? It's a different person too. It's Mecole Hardman in the Germany game 2 weeks ago. It was Richie James. It's like, man, what are we doing? And this has been an issue for years. Even back when Tyreek Hill was the punt returner, we saw this. I'm like, why? Dave Toub is a great special teams coordinator, but why is that a thing? Chargers Bengals for the AFC title game in 1982 had a wind chill of -59. Oh shit. I did not know that, but I will take your word for it, Chris. One thing I do know is neither one of them won the Super Bowl that year. They got that empty trophy case. Yeah, I love Vrabel. I really do. Like, if all the head coaches were free agents right now, and if you have to consider, the ages of all these head coaches also, I would want Vrabel. 100% I would want Vrabel. D'Amico Ryans would not be a bad coach either. I mean, look at the turnaround he's already created in Houston. So, but hey, man, that's sometimes this business is brutal. It really is. A lot of people think Sean McDermott's going to get fired. I mean, that's a coach that has guided the Bills through winning seasons. But if they become a one and done this postseason, a lot of people are expecting Sean McDermott to get the act. Listen, people have been talking about Sean McDermott's job security for a year now, like going back to the offseason and all the drama with Stephon Diggs and the 9/11 comment on all these things that just keep coming up. It's just the guy cannot catch a break. And again, the 13. I was listening to Sports Talk Radio in Buffalo when Stephon Diggs was not there for OTAs, which was a very interesting day. And I'm listening to the hosts, and they're talking about some of the recent downfalls. The first thing they mentioned is the 13-second game. So, they have still not really dug themselves out of the hole from that game emotionally. And then you look at the AFC title game, losing to Kansas City. And then last year when they lose to Cincinnati in the snow and they're making excuses, oh, it was snowing. Well, shit, the other team also dealt with the snow also. Come on. You gotta find ways to overcome it. The NFL should have moved the game due to weather conditions. I thought that was a sentence, but it looks like you're asking me. I mean, listen, I remember there was an ice storm for the Chiefs-Steelers playoff game in January of 2017. If you guys remember that, the Chiefs had the 2 seed. And they lost to a kicker in that game. But that's because there was an actual ice storm. We're not expecting any snow tomorrow. So whatever's on the ground will be cleaned up in time. And look, I know the situation in Buffalo. I'm sure they'll get things situated so fans can get in and out for the game. I remember in years past when Kansas City has had snow the night before a game. And crew members, I mean, they're always very quick to take care of the roads that lead to Arrowhead because they know that's where a lot of people are planning to go. So those are always going to be taken care of. Obviously, you'll expect a less turnout because of the snow. Some people are just going to opt out and watch from home, but you still have to anticipate a lot of people are going to go because they paid a lot of money for a ticket. A lot of people are not paying. Well, I don't know what the prices were at the time when tickets went on sale. Like I think it was Thanksgiving week when they announced wildcard tickets would go on sale. So, and I feel bad if he paid for face value at the time or even more at the time. Severe weather conditions are not good on both sides. This is why I never pay money for games in the winter. I mean, this is part of the reason. It's like, because I actually had money. I had tickets to a Sporting KC game. So crazy story. I have actually never been to a Sporting KC game. Had an opportunity, but the same night KU was in the Final Four. But it also rained, and there's no way in hell I'm going to sit through the rain to watch the soccer game. If there are no drops, it should be a good game. Yeah, you would like to think so with the offense. Will Derrick Henry be up for trade next season? I think he's a free agent. So I don't know what the tax situation is, Teresa. You would have to look that up, but I do think he's a free agent coming up this year. Chiefs need some stadium like SoFi. Yeah, to my understanding, the Chiefs don't want a new stadium. They are locked in. Clark Hunt is all about like keeping it old school. He loves the stadium. He loves the tradition. Doesn't want to do alternate jersey colors or anything like that. I mean, he is all about keeping the Chiefs, the way it was when they first started up at Arrowhead, 1972 when it first opened up, all that stuff. He actually said in a press conference earlier this year that the Chiefs they would rather renovate than build a brand new stadium, which, okay, fine. But you're going to be spending money doing that. To me, it's like, if you're going to spend money on something, let's do it right. I know a brand new stadium would cost a lot of money, but if you go to SoFi, or if you go to Allegiant Stadium, which some of you probably have, you'll know that those two stadiums, I mean, people have nothing but good things to say about those stadiums. Now, the field conditions, especially in Vegas, yeah, it's a whole nother topic, but the Chiefs do have a really good grounds crew, and I'm sure they'll find a way to keep that going for the future. But I don't know. At the end of the day, I've said this so many times. If you're gonna spend money, let's do it right. Because if you get a brand new stadium, you have the potential to get a Super Bowl. You can get Final Fours. You can get WrestleMania events. You can get big name. A lot of the big name concerts who perform at stadiums, a lot of them are more inclined to want to go to indoor. Say, listen, I've never been to a concert at Arrowhead before. A lot of the concerts happen usually in July and August. I mean, we talk about the cold right now. It is hot as hell in July and August. I have no idea who in the world is willing to pay all that money to go to. I mean, listen, Taylor Swift sold out back-to-back nights. She sells out everywhere, but man, it's just, at the end of the day, the heat, no thank you. But props to people who go, and obviously they keep selling out. You will, get more opportunities if you have a dome. I know one big tradition that will be taken away would be the flyovers, unless you have a retractable roof. I'm sure that'll cost even more money, which, all of the stuff is beyond my pay grade, but those are just things to consider. And by the way, I know a lot of people view Kansas City as flyover country, but the Chiefs were promised the Super Bowl, I think in 2012 or 2013, if they approved of the rolling roof to go over Arrowhead and Kauffman stadiums. You guys remember that from way back, almost 20 years ago? But Jackson County voters said, nope, we do not want that. And the NFL did promise the Chiefs a Super Bowl at the time. So, or not the Chiefs, Arrowhead specifically. I want to see the tailgate scene tomorrow. That is what I want to see. Usually there are people in line already, like more than 24 hours before kickoff. I don't think that's happening today. I don't think that's a possibility. At what point will they call the game off? If they were going to do that, they would have to have probably done that by now, Rochelle. That is my guess. And again, they see the forecast just like all of us do, so they would have to. They know what's coming. They would have to make that decision by now. If McDermott gets fired, Daboll should also get fired. Look, I'm just going to say now, Brian Daboll absolutely was not the coach of the year last year. I was very shocked he got it. If you guys want to know who I would have picked, I would have picked Shanahan. I mean, you went through 3 different quarterbacks and you still found ways to win. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, well, not in the AFC title game. Yeah, but the voting is all based on regular season. So for those who don't know, going back to the whole voting thing, votes are immediately cast Monday after the final regular season game. So this past Monday is when they all voted for All-Pro, Coach of the Year, MVP, comeback player, all of those stuff, Rookie of the Year. All of those votes have been cast. And so there are very few people who know the winners of those awards. Very, very few people, only a handful of people. And we'll obviously find out at the NFL Honors in a few weeks. I'll read a couple more and get out of here. Hope you're all staying warm on this Friday night. Not one game in NFL history has ever been relocated due to cold temperatures. What was the Buffalo game? Wasn't there a game in Buffalo that got relocated to Detroit? I can't recall the reason. I think it was last year, maybe this year. I can't recall exactly, but I thought Buffalo had some sort of situation where they had to relocate a game. I can't remember why, though. I do remember when Andy Reid was in Philly and Mike Vick was the quarterback at the time for the Eagles. They had a massive snowstorm, and it was supposed to be Sunday Night Football. They postponed that game into Tuesday, which nobody saw coming because NBC, they got their broadcast crew there. The announcers were there. They were doing their pregame, and they found out very late before the game that they were going to postpone the game. So that I recall that happening. I can't remember what year, 2010, 2011, 2012, somewhere around that time. So they ended up playing Sunday Night Football on a Tuesday night. So those are the only ones I can recall in recent memory. Hoping the Eagles get knocked down in the first round. That's a game I've gone back and forth with, but the Eagles, I mean, with Jalen Hurts' hand and AJ Brown not practicing much this week, that game I'm pretty concerned about. I wanted to go Eagles, but I got to go with the Bucs on this one. I don't know. The Eagles have looked horrible lately. People think Kansas City has issues, especially with the offense. Go look at Philadelphia and go look at how they've played in recent games. It has not been good. I mean, their fans want Nick Sirianni gone. This is the guy who took you to a Super Bowl 11 months ago, and people want Sirianni gone. Which, listen, if you fire Sirianni, I don't think the Eagles will. But if the Eagles do fire Sirianni, good luck getting a head coach next year. I mean, you're going to have to hire an offensive coordinator or a defensive coordinator that is desperate for a head coach. I don't even think Eric Bieniemy would want to go there because you fired Doug Peterson, who, by the way, won you your first and only Super Bowl in franchise history. You just went to a Super Bowl 11 months ago with Sirianni, and fans already want him gone. If the owner follows through with that, who's going to go to Philadelphia? Seriously, who's going to go there? No one's going to want to take that job because they're not sure if there's any longevity. Head coaches take jobs because they assume they'll be there for a very long time. It doesn't always work out that way, but that is the plan. That is always the goal. No one wants to go take a short 10-year head coach. You got maybe Belichick because he's going to be 72 by the time next season starts. So listen, it's up to him how much longer he wants to coach if he's going to continue to coach. But I suppose he won't care for a short-term coaching deal. Like, that's the only head coach that I could actually see accepting a job with Philadelphia. But I don't anticipate that to be the case. I mean, how does that make sense? Yeah, I know the Eagles have looked bad the last few weeks, but why would you fire a coach that just took you to a Super Bowl unless he's doing things behind the scenes that just don't make sense? How do you justify that? There'll be a lot of people at the game regardless of the weather. Yeah, a lot of tickets are available though. A lot of tickets. Colds will not keep anyone from playing hard in the playoffs. I certainly hope not, bud. But shit, man, I would not want to be out there in the cold playing or watching. Has it been announced that Mahomes is definitely starting tomorrow? You have to be facetious with this, Patrick. I don't know if you're trolling or what. I mean, is there a reason why he wouldn't be? Unless the Chiefs line up in a wildcat formation and they don't have a quarterback in for that. If they don't have Mahomes, then that's the only reason why he would not start. Statistically, that would not count as a start. So that's the only reason I can think of. Old school mentality is always the best. Old school all the way. Yeah, he's always been a traditional guy. I get it, but man, you're the owner of the team, not your dad. Like, it's been passed on to you. Have a little bit of fun with the team. There have been a lot of fans that want to see an alternate uniform for like a color rush uniform, but I don't know. Honestly, man, I don't like the Chiefs uniforms, the red on white and the white on red, but I love it when they go all red and all white. That's just me though. For Buffalo relocation, 6 feet lake effect snow. Buffalo got moved to Detroit I think because of massive amounts of snow. You guys are answering my question from earlier. Yeah, I knew they relocated one of their games. I just did not remember why. But yeah, I think I do recall it for snow. In fact, I actually think I recall a story about players showing up to the houses of the players, which sounds creepy, but they weren't doing anything bad. They were actually shoveling their driveway so they could get. Imagine like a bunch of people show up to a house. And you know who your neighbor is. It's a Buffalo Bills player, and they shovel their driveway just so they can get out and go to the game or whatever. But like everyone else still has a bunch of snow in the rest of the neighborhood. It's like, well, shit. You know, if you were someone important, you would get that. Allison's asking, do we think MVS will play or will they bench him? He's playing. He did not play in last week's game. He got the bye week last week. So that should tell you what the Chiefs definitely think of him. For sure. AJ Brown drama. Apparently, he deleted everything Eagles from his Insta. Interesting. You picked the Bucks also. Yeah, I originally I picked the Eagles, but the more I like thought about it and just kept asking questions, I'm like, okay, if I have to ask this many questions, I might as well just pick the Bucks. And again, I'm still not confident in picking the Bucks, but I don't know. I don't feel good about picking the Eagles either in that one. That is a game that I still like. That's the hardest one to predict for me for this weekend. Sirianni is such a clown. Yeah. Ever since he was doing all that shit talking on his way in the tunnel. I love when coaches are like in the tunnel and they're talking shit to fans when they're so far away. Like, cool. And what's their record been since then? Like 2-5 or something like that? Eddie just sent me a text. I got to open this because he started laughing at this. I guess someone just put a really hilarious prediction. They're predicting Cowboys 27, Packers 17. That's actually my prediction for the Chiefs game tomorrow. Chiefs 26, Dolphins 13, Eagles 20, Bucks 16. This is from SportsCenter. Bill Barnwell, who has covered a lot of Raiders and AFC West for ESPN over the years, for a very long time, actually. Lions 30, Rams 26. I think the Rams are going to surprise a lot of people this weekend. Texans 21, Browns 17, Bills 31, Steelers 10. Okay, I don't see anything egregious with this. He's picking the Chiefs to beat the Bills in Buffalo. Cool. And for the Chiefs to win the AFC title game and the Super Bowl over the Cowboys. Okay. All right. I think Bill Barnwell just gained a lot of fans in Kansas City. Yes, Teresa. To all of those, yes. I don't know exactly when I will be going on for pregame. I intended to do that in the morning, but I'm going to be sleeping a lot tomorrow morning. I will just say that now. Didn't get a lot of sleep last night. I'll read a few more here. I live in Katy, Texas. As a Chiefs fan, do not want to play the Texans. The Texans don't necessarily scare me right now because of their inexperience, but I think in a couple of years, like, this will be the team to fear for sure. I think CJ Stroud would probably be viewed as one of the top tier quarterbacks in the AFC next year with Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. Even though Josh Allen commits all those turnovers, I mean, he's one of the guys still. Like, he's one of the top dogs in the AFC and in the NFL. Thank you, Teresa. I appreciate it. After 4 weeks, there was no turnaround for the Eagles. At least Tampa got a little flame. Yeah, Baker Mayfield. I think that guy's I think he was on his way to winning comeback player of the year until Flacco came out. Well, at least my vote. I mean, listen, we all know DeMar Hamlin's winning it, which I don't agree with, because he's only played 19 snaps on defense and 90 on special teams. So I don't know. I don't really agree with that. I don't like the Cowboys, but my brother, a Packer fan, I want to hear it from him. I think you might be safe. You might be safe. You're new here. Welcome, Ashley. Always love it when new people join in. Games on Peacock or Paramount, both. Missed last week. Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of people mention something about Paramount. I have not looked into it. I would be surprised if Paramount Plus had the rights to this, because Paramount Plus is partnered with CBS and Viacom. So I don't know why they would have the rights to tomorrow's game, but it is going to be on Peacock. So again, I have not really looked into that too much. I just know if you live in Kansas City, it's on channel 41. Rochelle says, so the Dolphins will get 2 touchdowns and miss a field goal. Yeah, in the cold, I won't dismiss that. You know, this year there were so many predictions about MVP, and now it sounds like Lamar Jackson. Yeah, I feel like there was a lot of people changing their predictions because it started with Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey. People thought it would be one of those two, and then Dak Prescott kind of came out of nowhere, and a lot of people felt like he was very deserving, and I agree with that. I think this is Dak Prescott's best year, 100% his best year. And then Lamar Jackson. I think the difference. I think the deciding factor in Lamar Jackson, not only he's obviously first team All Pro, so I think that's a good indication that he's probably going to be the MVP this year because a lot of times these awards do go to a quarterback. But to me, the deciding factor was the blowout win over the 49ers and the blowout win over the Dolphins, because a lot of people feel like those are the two teams they could potentially face in the AFC title game and in the Super Bowl. Yeah. I mean, if those are the teams you'll face deep in the playoffs, yeah, I think you earned the MVP because of those 2 games right there late, 100%. Leading your team to blowout victories over 2 other top tier teams, yeah, I think that'll definitely be the deciding factor for sure. Baker is good right up to the point they lose. I think Baker's just always had a bad. He's always just been dealt a bad hand, honestly, in my opinion. I like Baker. I feel like the shit he got coming out of college was just not fair. I never really understood the criticism. And I think he did a good job in Cleveland, too. They decided to go with Deshaun Watson, though, which a lot of people have their opinions about that. I certainly gave mine at the time. And then, the type of year he had last year, from Cleveland to Carolina to LA, it's like, man, the guy just turned into a journeyman in 1 year. And now he's found a home in Tampa, and I hope he stays there a long time. I hope Tampa takes care of him because, I think he did a good job there. I know that's not the most competitive division. I think Tampa wants to definitely be better in the future, but Baker, I think, is a big reason for why they did so well. Derek Carr going to New Orleans, I think, was talked about way more than Baker to Tampa Bay. So, and the fact that it was Tampa Bay that came out on time. And listen, you guys know my thoughts on Derek Carr. The guy's just not a good quarterback. He's had so many opportunities in his career. It's just he's not getting it done. He's just not. Yes, Christy, you can watch it on your local NBC affiliate. Yes, channel 41. If you live in the Kansas City area, if you get, put it this way, if you get channel 41 like for your 10 o'clock newscast, then you get the game. That's how I understand it. So if you live in St. Joe, if you live in Lawrence, you get channel 41, to my understanding. Ben, you get the last comment here. Dolphins are 0-10. I love how you put the dolphin emoji there. In games where the temperature is below 40 degrees. That is correct. I'm not saying the weather alone will beat them, but it's an advantage. Yes, that is an advantage. I also think it's a little bit of an overrated thing. Because we've seen warm weather cities, teams go into a very cold game and they win. That's not always the case. I know, and I brought this up in the last week because we've known about this weather for a week now. Peyton Manning, the biggest thing with him, the criticism he had faced over the years, because he played in Indianapolis for a long time, which is obviously in a dome. They play their games indoors. Whenever the Colts had like a December game or even a January game outdoors, like in Foxborough or wherever, people always made a big deal about the fact that Peyton Manning cannot win games in the cold. And then he goes to Denver, obviously a very cold city. And then whenever Denver had games in the cold in January for the playoffs, they had a lot of early exits, and people pointed at the fact that Peyton Manning had played in a dome for so long. So I guess there's something to that, but I don't think that's like the only I don't ever look at that as the only factor. I remember the Raiders came here for a really cold Thursday night football game, And NFL Network was going on about how, the Chiefs won that game because of the weather. I don't think they won because of the weather. I think they won because they played better football. Again, I don't disagree that weather can have an impact, but it's almost like the Super Bowl last year when Philadelphia was crying about the field. It's like both teams played in that field, okay? And I know Eagles fans are so focused. Oh, well, the Eagles defense, they do the bull rush. Okay, but you still have players running on that same field. Nobody said anything about the field when the Eagles were up by 10 points at halftime. It was only an issue after the game when they lost. So go figure, right? And by the way, how many times did they really slip on that thing? I mean, you had Chiefs players slipping also. And one other thing, too, before I wrap this up, and this has been confirmed, that field they used for the Super Bowl, it's the same exact field they use in Philly. So I don't want to hear any excuses. Eagles fans still bring that up to this day. It's like, man, you lost. The Super Bowl was 11 months ago. Get over it. We got the trophy, not you guys. So, all right. This was a good live stream, a really good live stream, playoff edition. Appreciate you guys who joined in for this live chat. We'll be back tomorrow. I don't know exactly when, so make sure you got your notifications on, but we will be doing a pregame live chat tomorrow at some point. Probably not in the morning, might be mid-early afternoon, probably before the first game gets underway. So join me for that. We'll have a halftime live stream, and we'll also do our post-game podcast live immediately after the game ends. So appreciate you guys. Have a great night. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. I am out. Take care.